Good evening and welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started right on time, just so I can value your time. If you're just coming in, grab a seat anywhere. It's totally fine. My name is Dr. Walsh, Dr. Sarah Pregleski-Walsh. I have the honor of being the principal of Algonquin. Very excited opportunity for myself. I do have Mr. McDonald up there. He is our 9th grade assistant principal. You can see him right underneath the title. He recently lost a family member, so he cannot be here tonight, so I will be in his place. So if you have very specific questions about transitioning from the 8th to 9th grade, questions for the assistant principal, I will be available after the presentation to answer those on his behalf. We're getting some shout outs from our peer mentor, so that's fantastic. I appreciate that in the back. I am going to ask if you have questions, just to hold the questions till the end, because as we shift from the presentation, we will head out into the hallways and you'll be able to do content-specific questions with each one of the content department heads. For example, if you have a question about science, our science department head is here at a table outside to help answer those questions. So just hold the questions till the end. We're going to have some student presenters. We are also going to have one of our veteran guidance counselors run the presentation. I'll come back up towards the end. So I'm going to turn this evening over to Ms. Haberman.
All right, I can't see over a podium. I'm a little short. How you guys doing tonight? You all right? How many of you, this is your first child going to high school? Oh, there we go, a couple of newbies here. All right, we will take good care of you. And rest assured, as you will see from a lot of our students who are here, some of the students who were entertaining you on your way in, we really offer so much for kids at this wonderful high school. Both my children went through this high school. Both are successfully working. I am not supporting them. One is traveling through Southeast Asia right now. He decided to retire at 25. I'm still working. But let me go. What we are talking about tonight is the scheduling timeline. So we have for those of you who are at Milliken or Trottier, your guidance counselors there have course selection sheets for you. They will be handling all the scheduling questions for you. For those of you who might be in private schools, I have information for you on how to register your students. But as you can see, February through March, we start the selection of courses. And in March is our new student registration for students who are not at Milliken or Trottier. So anybody from St. Bernadette's or any of the other private schools around, we will have student registration for you. In April through June, we build a master schedule. We build that based on the amount of sign-ups we get. Whoops. So, and then in August is when course schedules will be available. Typically the Wednesday before school starts, but I'm not sure yet of the date. There is a freshman orientation. We have upperclassmen who are peer mentors, and basically your kids will go through everything. They get their lockers, they walk through the hallways, they get some really great information. We have information for parents that evening. So that information will come out soon. What to remember while planning a program? You are the experts in your children. You know when they come home from a day of school all stressed, crying, cannot do anything. You know when they are happy, when they are feeling good. High school can be very, very stressful for our kids, and we work really hard here at the high school to keep them balanced. We do live in a very stressful life. So as you're planning out your program with your children, listen to them, see what they want. You know, are they able to handle a lot of homework and things like that? So you really want to me, it's all about balance. The more balanced our kids are, the more balanced you are as a parent. because trust me, I wasn't always balanced when my kids were home. Right, Debbie? All right, so if we go to the next slide, we basically have a 4-year plan because we really don't, as much as I love to have some of my students like Allison or Tommy hang out with me 5 or 6 years, all of our students really graduate in 4 years. You guys don't want to stay around an extra year, do you? No, I didn't think so. So the graduation requirements are mapped out on a 4-year plan. We basically have a 7-period day, so you can pick 7 classes. Within those, we have some core classes. Students must have a minimum of 30 credits in their day. They can have up to 35 credits. A full year course, like your full year freshman English, full year US history, those are all 5-credit courses. Then we have half-year electives. We've got things like wood tech, nutrition, culinary arts, we got fine arts. We have a lot of different things to fill out their schedule. So our 4-year plan pretty much matches what colleges want from a student coming from a high school. The only graduation requirement that we do not have, but most colleges want, is a foreign language requirement. However, we suggest that students take a foreign language 2, 3, 4 throughout their whole time here. So that is the one thing. Part of our course expectations are foreign language is not an Algonquin graduation requirement, but all my kids here, you guys all took a foreign language, and great fun. So, for your children who are at the middle school, you're going to have recommendations from your middle school teachers as to whether or not your child should be in an honors level English class or a college prep English class, which math they should be in. Your middle school teachers are the teachers who see your student day in and day out. They know when they're having trouble with something. They know if there's somebody who's willing to ask for help. So I always say, really go with that teacher recommendation. If you have questions about those teacher recommendations, ask your middle school teacher, because they'll explain to you why they're thinking of recommending your son or daughter to be in Algebra 1 CP or English honors if you have questions about it. And again, any of those questions, it goes to the middle school teachers or your guidance counselor at the middle school. So I just mentioned a bit about honors versus college prep. Is it better to get an A in a CP class or a C+ in an honors class? Well, I don't know, kids, what do you think? Depends, right? It depends on what your students want. As a guidance counselor here, and I've been here a lot longer than most of you, I always look at what the student is comfortable with. If they are getting an easy A, they can do their homework in 2 minutes right before class, then maybe that CP class is too easy for them. If they are struggling, coming home in tears, just trying to stay above water to get a C, then maybe that honors level class is not the right fit for them. It's all about finding the right fit for your student. That's why, like my students here, I say, go with what your teacher recommends. They've seen you for a whole year. They see what you can do. If you are worried that your child will not get into a, quote, good college, and I always say, quote, because a good college is the best college for your student, any student from Algonquin can get into a college that is a right fit for them, even if they go through all of Algonquin never taking an honors level class. So there's this myth, and I gotta admit, when I first started here and my kids started coming up through elementary and middle school, I'm like, yeah, I happen to have a very bright eldest child. He didn't always behave well, but he could really whip through stuff. And so I thought, oh, honors, every kid should take honors, until my second child came. And guess what? He wasn't quite at that level. And then when he was doing the CP math and I saw that he was more balanced, it was good. He was happy, and that's what I wanted. He got more involved with everything else. So think about, what are your students' strengths? If they love writing, if they love history, if they're watching all the History Channel and stuff, and they really are struggling in math, you want to have a math class that fits them versus pushing them into something that they're going to hate. So it really is important to think about what your child likes, what their strengths are, where their weak areas are, so that we can find the right fit for them. Now if we go on to elective courses. When I first started here, and I actually did my internship here about 18 years ago or so, and I got the program of studies, which now will be online for you guys. We're trying to save trees. I really thought that, wow, this place is like college, because I look at the multitudes of elective courses we have for our students. And the elective courses allow your children to explore interests in things that maybe they never even thought of before. I've had kids who've taken engineering graphics because they thought it was really interesting. Then they get into wood tech. When you walked in, you probably saw some beautiful tables and things like that. That's stuff our kids build. I have pictures of photographs and paintings from my students who've since left and gone on to art schools and all. We have a ton of different electives. So as you're looking at the elective choices, you want your students to think about different things that they might like, maybe a beginning guitar, maybe a chorus class or band. And you want them to get a little break from the day-to-day academics. I mean, we all have our English, we all have our history, science, math, and I'm not dissing any of those, but having those other fun courses like a journalism class or something, that's what gets them excited. It also gets them excited to stay after school and be part of our community. And that's when you will hear from our students how awesome they are, because these guys blow me away every day. Even though, Allison, I can't remember your name half the time, you still blow me away, right? Yeah, okay. All right, so when you are filling out your course selections, we want you to rank electives in order of preference, because I can't always get a student their number one cooking, because it might not fit with all their others. So if you give us 1, 2, 3, 4 elective choices, then we have more to pick from. And yeah, provide alternative elective options. And again, you want to look at balancing what your child can do and get them excited about coming to the Reg. Exemption policy. Okay, so years ago, actually probably about 17 years ago, some students were not taking certain courses like an art one or a engineering with metals, because we only offered it at the CP level, and they didn't want to screw up their grade point average. So there was a lot of talk, there was a lot of meetings about this, and the school committee with a group of students and teachers came up with this exemption policy. What it means is that your student can exempt from their GPA a non-required class each semester if they want to. It does mean that, let's say that they're taking cooking and they exempt it from their GPA because they're in all honor level classes, and they get an A, that's great, because that A will still show up on their transcript, but it's not calculated into their GPA. So it does encourage students to explore interests without concern for their GPA. These exceptions must be listed on the course selection, at course selection time. Your student can't come to me at the end of the year and say, well, I took art and I want to exempt it. They've already gotten a grade, I can't exempt it then. If they exempted it and then they don't want to, again, it's already exempted. So it's just a little way for students to be able to explore electives without worrying about their GPA. Graduation requirements. So the class of 2022, oh my God, I can't believe that, 2022, huh? In order to graduate, not only do they have to pass all their classes, they also have to take the science MCAS. All of our freshmen take the biology MCAS. They have to take math and the English language arts, and that's in their sophomore year. I have never, in all my years here, had a student not graduate because of MCAS. We do a terrific job in prepping kids for the MCAS. We typically are getting advanced in ELA and math, so it's never really a problem. And if we find a student is struggling, we will give them extra help in order to allow them what they need to pass the MCAS. So, let's talk about English. Taylor, hi, come on up.
Hi, guys.
There you go. This is my friend Taylor. In English, we need, every student's got to take 4 years of English. They could take more than 4 years. They can double up on English. I'm going to have Taylor tell you a little bit about our English program.
All right, hi guys. My name's Taylor. I'm representing the English department, although I'm involved in a lot of other departments. But I gotta say that there are a lot of teachers that are fantastic all around Algonquin, but a high concentration of them happen to be in the English department. So, as your kids are coming into freshman year, they'll have the option of taking a CP or honors course, and the same for sophomore year. But in their junior and senior years, they also have the option of taking an AP course. So I brought this book that I'm currently reading in AP literature because I guess Ernest Hemingway is classy and cultured and stuff. But there are a bunch of awesome electives that you can take also in the English department. I'm pretty sure, yeah, everyone I know takes an English elective because they're so fantastic. You can take postmodernism, in which you look at graphic novels. You can take Western, where you learn about non-Eastern literature, I guess. You can take journalism, in which you can get an article submitted to the Harbinger, which I'll talk about in a minute. And you can also take courses that can teach you how to be a tutor. Because we have something called the Algonquin Writing Center, where kids can help other kids make their writing better. And it's something that's really new to Algonquin, but it's so great. Anyone can make an appointment and pop in at any time, and they will help you, and you will be a better writer. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, I also wanted to talk about Sachem, which is our art and literary magazine at Algonquin. And I've been an editor of that since I was in my sophomore year. And it's something really great because I get to meet every week and do something that I love, which is read other people's poetry and look at their art and get to match it together. And I get to showcase that in a magazine at the end of the year because it's so great to see all these people that you wouldn't expect to be writers and artists. They submit this stuff and it's like crazy amazing. Also, another literary production at Algonquin is The Harbinger, which is our school newspaper, and I'm really great friends with the editors of The Harbinger. And they have so many good articles that I read that thing like front to back every time it comes out. I'm so excited for their upcoming issue. They get to they interview like kids from all across the school, so you get to learn about all the things that are happening at Algonquin. You can hear from opinion pieces. You can hear like the next best place to eat. It's fantastic. And then if your kid is interested in something that's like a little more casual, they can check out the Writing Circle, which is just a really casual group of friends that like to write and stuff. And I think that's all the things that I wanted to say. So thank you.
Thank you, Taylor. So English, you have to take it every year that you are here. In social studies, our graduation requirements are U.S. History 1 freshman year, U.S. History 2 sophomore year, and World History junior year. That tends to be above and beyond what many colleges want. A lot of colleges only want 2 years of history. We have your students take 3 years, but we also have an amazing amount of extra social studies electives that Tommy's going to talk about.
Hello, I'm Tommy Ackel. I'm a student athlete here at Algonquin Regional High School. And I've done most of these, actually. So that's good. But this year alone, I am taking Holocaust and Human Behavior and Women in U.S. History, which in the history department, you're able to basically take any type of history that you would most likely want to learn about. Many of the courses that are offered here are current day issues all the way back to way back. And many of the teachers here, which I will argue in the history department are concentrated some of the best, they will bring the issues all the way back in the past, all the way up to current day. And not only that, but in history, they focus on the fact of, yes, it is history, and many of the teachers realize that some of the kids are not history gurus and don't want to learn about everything. So many of the teachers make it super fun. They actually make the learning fun. They bring diagrams in, they do fun things. I remember my junior year with Miss Moulton, we used to play a map game every single Friday for like the last 5 minutes of class. And it was about a European map and in world history. And I actually learned a lot of the states in there, or countries, sorry, don't yell at me on that one. But yeah, I learned a lot of the countries in there, and it was very beneficial to me, not only because I took 2 years previously of U.S. history, and this senior year I took Holocaust and Human Behavior with Miss Burns, who was probably my favorite teacher I've ever had. Not only because she was an awesome person, but she was, I kid you not, knew everything and everything about this subject. I could ask her a question, she knew it off the top of her head. Some of the things I asked her were beyond me. I don't know how she knew them. Really, don't ask me, I don't know how she knew them. She was able to just tell me, and now I'm taking Women in U.S. History, which is a class that I was very debating on taking, and it's been one of the best classes that I've taken so far here. I've learned so much just in the 2 weeks that I've been taking it. It brings past issues up to current issues and the current day issues. It brings a light to students that would not usually take it. It brings a light to it, to the fact that everybody should be taking this class, and in some ways, it helps kids understand the issues and current day issues better. And on top of that, taking many of these classes has actually helped me a lot, just talking to a lot of the adult figures. A lot of them are talking about politics and whatever it may be at the dinner table. And with that said, I'm able to actually contribute to a lot of the conversations just from what I know. And from the past issues to current issues, I'm able to bring what I know to the table and actually be able to speak, being an 18-year-old kid. Some of the things that I say or that I bring up, my parents, my grandparents, my friends of parents are actually wowed at the things that I know and the things that are taught at Algonquin, which is amazing to me that I'm able to learn these things, and I'm just thankful that I've been able to expand my knowledge in the history department. Thank you.
So for history, all freshmen are coming in and they take U.S. History 1, and there's no option of college prep or honors. It's mixed classes. They're going to be doing a lot of work with study skills and incorporating a lot of different things in the U.S. History 1. Sophomore year, kids can take U.S. History 2 at the college prep level, the honors level, or the AP level, and then in junior year, they take world history again at college prep, honors, or AP. And as Tommy said, we've got a load of different things all the way up from CP law and society criminal justice all the way up to AP US Gov. And now we get to talk about my favorite subject, math. Before I bring you up, just because math is definitely one of the more complicated ones because there are so many choices, because for many of us like me who might not be as strong a math student as maybe my eldest son who became a chemical engineer, and every time he tells me what he's doing, I have no clue. I'm a guidance counselor. But your student as a freshman is either going to be placed by their teacher recommendation in either Algebra 2 honors if they've been taking the Algebra 1 in the middle school, or Algebra 1 honors, or Algebra 1 CP. We also have a program called Integrated Math, which basically combines algebra and geometry in a way that for some students, that learning makes it much easier to connect all the different pieces, and that's a 4-year program that colleges are very familiar with. And for people like me who are really not good at math, there is also an individual math program. This might be where I have, Alex, you've done a lot of math here. Yeah, do you want to talk about the progression? You want me to talk about the progression? Huh? Oh, good. All right, Alex is my math guy.
All right, so with math, it's a little bit different compared to many of the humanities classes in that level can really have an impact on which courses your student gets to take over the course of their high school. I've also found in my experience that for some students, they're able to do extremely well in algebra, and with geometry, they might have a harder time just because of that spatial element. So some of the examples of different progressions through our math courses. Some students will start off with Algebra 2 honors, then take Geometry honors, Pre-Calc honors, and go all the way up to Calculus, BC, AB, or honors. And a lot of students will also go into Algebra 1 honors and end up going through the same route, ending up at Pre-Calc, which is what my brother actually did. And in addition to that, there's also Algebra 1 CP, Integrated 1 CP, and then Individualized Math. So definitely, I would take your teacher's recommendation for your student on this because it really can have an effect that goes through their years if they don't get placed in the correct course. For me, I actually started off with geometry in grade 9. I took Algebra 2 as an 8th grader and Algebra 1 as a 7th grader, so I ended up coming in actually a course early. And I took AP Calculus BC last year. So that's also an option, although I would recommend against that unless you know 100% for sure your student's capable. And I know there's actually an 8th grader who is definitely more than capable, who's already taken Calculus BC exam, but that's another story. That's So I can also talk about our computer science elective. So I took AP Computer Science A, which uses the Java programming language. There's also a new course that I think's been added this year called AP Computer Science Principles, which focuses more on like application development for Android. And so I definitely recommend checking out computer science electives if your student's interested, especially given how much technology is being dependent on software nowadays.
Are those courses for 9th grade?
I think some of these are open to 9th graders. In addition, that's actually a good point. So for many of these courses, maybe not all of these, but a lot of math courses, there are prerequisites to meet, so you have to make sure you maintain a certain grade in the class in order to advance to the honors level of the next class. That's another thing to keep in mind. So yeah.
So, math and science tend to sometimes go together. And in 9th grade, all of our students come in taking biology either at the college prep or the honors level. And that is MCAS. Our biology classes do prep them for the MCAS that they take in June. In 10th grade, they take chemistry, either college prep or honors. And in junior year, they take physics. Again, either college prep or honors. These all meet your college requirements. But the beautiful part of our science department is all the extra stuff they have. Clarissa, would you like to tell us about science?
Hey guys, so as Ms. Haberman said, there is kind of a progression at which students at Algonquin take science classes. Typically as freshmen they do biology, and as sophomores they take chemistry, and then finally as juniors they take physics. And this kind of matches up with the MCAS schedule as well. So as a freshman, I started off with honors chemistry. I passed out of biology. And so then as a sophomore, I took physics honors. So out of these electives, I've taken AP biology, AP chemistry, and I'm currently taking AP physics. And oftentimes there is a requisite grade, similar to math, as Alex was mentioning previously. There is a requisite grade that you need in order to qualify for AP classes. Now, I mean, fact check me on this, but I think it's like a B+ in an honors class and an A in a CP class. Yeah. So again, when you're considering choosing classes, it is important to think a few years ahead, and you know what, if your student is interested in taking a higher level science class in the future, you know, what's the right class as a freshman, a sophomore, a junior. And one thing that I would like to note about the science classes, typically the AP classes that I've taken, is the personal relationship that I've formed with my teachers. My junior year, I took AP biology, and I had Mrs. Mott as my teacher. And that was the first year that we learned how to write lab reports and scientific papers, and it was absolutely insane. But I also worked with her in helping run HOSA, which is our health club at Algonquin, and it's really fun. And then, my sophomore year, when I took honors physics, I had Mr. Wadman, and he referred me to an internship at a startup company, so that's where I currently work. So this interpersonal connection that I experienced, and I'm sure many other students experienced with the science teachers, it really adds to the learning aspect of it. Thank you.
So as I said at the beginning, word language is not an Algonquin graduation requirement. However, we strongly suggest that our students take a minimum of 2 years of the same language at high school. And one of the reasons that colleges look at this is because it increases the students' knowledge of the world beyond Northborough and Southborough. We offer French, we offer Spanish, and we offer Latin. And most of our students will take a minimum of 3 years here. Often, many go on to their senior year taking a 4th year of the language. So it's a great program, and a lot of kids actually end up traveling with some of our teachers who do trips over in France or Spain, and we actually often have students coming from other countries to stay with host families here as well. So that's world language. Now we're going to go on to health and fitness. So health and fitness, otherwise known in my days as gym, is really more than just gym. It's physical education, and our health and fitness department does a great job of mixing not only, playing your fun games or learning archery or badminton or something with a lot of team building kind of things with Project Adventure, as well as teaching students how to be mindful, how to use stress reducing ways of exercise to help them balance their lives. Every student each year has to take a semester of PE. It is a state requirement. We do have some electives for seniors, and sometimes I think juniors too, if they can fit it. We've got weight training and conditioning, team sports, outdoor education, and an advanced health and wellness. I also have every year a few students who end up being wellness mentors, helping out, say they're a junior, they might help out a freshman gym class, so PE class. So it's a great program. And then we have a huge department called Applied Arts and Technology. Out of this department, we run all sorts of business kinds of classes. We have probably the most students in any DECA program. DECA is a national, international marketing program, and we have students every year going to states, districts, and going international through our DECA program. In order to graduate, all freshmen take a computer essentials class, either as a sophomore, junior, or senior, depending on their math. They have to take at least a semester of either microeconomics or financial literacy. All students, before they graduate, have to take a half year, one semester of either an applied arts or a fine arts. I almost never have a student who has not taken at least one, if not many. So they've either got to take fine or performing arts or an applied arts. But within the applied arts, is there? Yeah. I mean, you can barely read this, but we have everything, as I said before, from cooking. We've got a great Tiny Tomahawk program that teaches our student how to be preschool teachers. It's early childhood development, then they go on to early childhood education. I've had students then go in and work for daycares and things like that. We have business law, we have business communications, we have marketing. It's just a slew of programs. And our fine and performing arts program, you guys probably heard a lot of our musicians out there today serenading you as you came in. You might have seen some of the artwork that comes in here. Our students, your kids, are extremely talented. Our band program, jazz band, wind ensemble, my youngest son went through that program. He started off as a percussionist. Now he also plays the ukulele, the guitar, the piano. And guess what? He keeps finding guitars and ukuleles during his Southeast Asia trip. So he's having a grand old time. But our music and fine arts program, we go to state competitions for our artists. They win awards. And again, as you can see, we have anything from the visual arts, anything from your Art 1 all the way up to AP art, to drawing, to ceramics, pottery, graphic design. Our drama program, improv, Andrew, right? I hope if you have not come to see a show here to do so. Your students will get tickets sometimes to come see shows here, and it's just fantastic. And then our band and our choruses are just amazing. So Band, if your student does play an instrument or likes to sing, that is an elective course. It is a full year course, so it's 5 credits instead of the half-year credits, 2.5. And then we've got instructional support services. Hi, Allison, how are you? Come on up. So our instructional support services program are individualized programs to help students who might have a learning disability, might need something more. And I have my wonderful friend Allison to tell you all about it.
Thank you. I represent the special education department, and my first experience started with the ARHS program. I was out for an extended period of time for personal reasons, and I was so behind on schoolwork that I was drowning in it. And luckily, the ARHS program was there for me. What that is there's a tutor in there to help you catch back on work, in addition to an adjustment counselor. And they help you reintegrate back into the social aspect of school. That was inordinately helpful to me. But it also it made me realize that I struggle with anxiety, depression, in a way that becomes a disability. As a result, at the end of my sophomore year, I got tested for an individualized education program. Is that right? Okay. Or IEP. And I qualified for it. And we had to go through a series of tests, and I qualified for it. And now I'm on one. So in my junior and senior years, I have been on an IEP. What this means is I have a learning center, which is a directed study of sorts. My learning center teacher is Mrs. Vitigliano. She's the special ed head, right? She's the department chair, and she is amazing. So what she helps with, I have what's called a social emotional disability. She helps me break down my work, because I often look big picture and get overwhelmed, and she helps me look at it in smaller segments. And the special education department has a lot of stigma around it. People assume that people are just dumb, or oh, those are the special kids, they don't really know. But I have been tremendously successful, if I do say so. I've gotten into a few colleges, at Clark University in Assumption, and thanks. Yeah, I'm waiting to hear back from BC and Brandeis, but I think I'm trying to break the stigma around special education, and that we can be successful, and we're just normal kids. We just need a little extra help, just equity. So thank you very much.
And now I'm going to let Dr. Walsh tell you about all of our wonderful positive freshman transitions.
Thank you, Ms. Haberman, and thank you to our student presenters. That was fantastic. Genuinely appreciate that. Thank you. So I know we're running a little long on time, so I will be brief but not rushed, because I want to make sure that I thoroughly explain this. One of the most difficult times in our students' careers, academic careers, is the freshman transition year. And we at Algonquin put extra systems and programs in place to make sure that all of our freshmen have a successful transition year. Some of the things that we do that are very specific to Algonquin is freshman orientation. We have senior and junior mentors come in and get linked up almost like a buddy system with our freshmen, and they do team building, they tour the building, they figure out all those idiosyncrasies that make Algonquin Algonquin that for a freshman could be overwhelming, like how to get your locker open, where's the closest bathroom, where do you go for the right lunch line to get the best food and not that lunch line. They teach them all those ins and outs so that when their first day comes, it's an exciting, fun experience versus an overwhelming experience. You were able to meet some of our peer mentors when you came in. They probably cheered you on and said welcome. Very inviting group. They work over the summer. They work with Ms. Braun and Ms. Turner, and it's a very highly developed program to support our freshmen to have a successful transition year so they can focus on being on sports, getting involved in things like drama, focusing on academics and supports, and making those lifelong friendships. I mentioned briefly peer mentors. The peer mentors expand beyond freshman orientation, though. We do many forms of peer mentors. You heard Ms. Haberman speak of some of them. where there'll be academics, teaching assistants, and so forth, as well as the social emotional supports. We do specific freshman functions to make sure that they do get that individualized attention. It could be anything as simple as a freshman dance. That's a big win for them. You know, your first high school dance could be super overwhelming, so we start smaller at the freshman level, where we just had our winter ball, which was 600 students attending it. So we kind of start smaller and then we build bigger, really helping them have that fun experience in high school while able to focus on the academics and the social development that is crucial for a successful high school career. Our guidance department does specific programming to help that transitional social, emotional, and academic supports. We heard one of our students talk about some of the depression or anxiety that can come on during high school that you weren't necessarily aware of. Our guidance team comes in and does intentional programming, collaborating with our different department heads to make sure that it's not just a one-time program, that it's woven into the curriculum to support them throughout the year. And I have a couple of them listed there, and you can ask Ms. Haberman some more specifics when you meet with her outside at the tables. And then I wanted to make sure that I pointed out our extracurricular extravaganza. We at Algonquin have a club for everything. We started, I believe, last year, but we were missing the bees. We have the bees now. We have the bee club this year. And it's all about bees and pollination, and we have some specialists who come in and talk to us about it. We had a student who was interested in about it. They wrote a grant. They received the money for the grant. They now have the beehive. It's fantastic. To mathletes, to robotics who compete at many different levels, there is a club for every child. And to make sure that it's not overwhelming and that they have to go figure it out, we set up a club extravaganza during lunch. They come out on the patio in the beginning of the year, and they literally can just visit all the different clubs. They'll see their peer mentors out there from freshman orientation, have those follow-up conversations, bring home documentation to their parents. You guys can ask questions. There's an advisor for every club, a faculty member. So another way to integrate seamlessly into Algonquin. So these are just some of the items, and this is what Mr. McDonald would have spoken about. He focuses heavily on that solid transition year as the 9th grade assistant principal. But any questions, please see me after the presentation. Then my last slide that I'll speak basically about is, how is Algonquin doing? You know, how are we doing in comparison to the other schools? We are a school of excellence, plain and simple. When I say I'm proud to be the principal, it is bar none. Our MCAS scores are up for advanced and proficient levels. We're crushing it across the state. Our AP performance levels are up. Our AP enrollment level is up. We have a 20% gap on enrollment alone in Massachusetts, a 40% gap on enrollment alone nationally. Our AP program alone last year presented over 30 AP exams to our students, if they were in an AP course or not. You heard Alex speak about how we took different AP classes, some of them at a younger grade. One of our upcoming students took AP tests already. We really do try to individualize the academics for our students, which makes Algonquin excellent for each single student. Our SAT scores are up, you know, where you can compare, the test has changed a little bit. Our ACT scores are up. And then I wanted to bring up the topic of ranking. Ranking has shifted, and I think it's a topic that isn't discussed as often as it should be with our parents, kind of leaving them having questions. What's important to remember is that the variables, the different items that each ranking system uses in their regression model, in their prediction model, can change. So, for example, one of the more prevalent ones is the USN Best High Schools ranking system. And they modified some of the variables that they've used in previous years. So have some other rankings. For example, in previous years, if a school didn't offer IB classes, it didn't matter. But in current rankings, you had to offer IB classes. So now the rankings took a big shift, and Algonquin's numbers would have changed. Socioeconomics, depending on the demographic of our economics in our town, if Algonquin is having less socioeconomically disadvantaged children in comparison to their local communities, they will receive less points in their rank, so their rank will drop. If we have a lesser level of diversity, however they are defining diversity than our local communities, our ranking will drop. Massachusetts itself is leading the way in academics. When you look at national rankings, so USN Best Schools, I think compared over 28,000 schools nationally, Massachusetts and some of the New England schools, we were actually pulled down in the ranking to normalize us against some of the states who aren't performing as well on some of the federal standards. So to normalize the data, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, we all went down a little bit where some other states went up. That would impact our national ranking. So it depends on what scale you're looking at. On one scale, we have an A+ across the board, a C+ in diversity, our ranking drops. But we have an A+ with our students and their ability for college preparedness. How is their attrition rate in college? Are they exempting out of their freshman courses? They are, by the way. Are they graduating early, on time, exceeding job placements? Absolutely, they are. Are they globally competitive? Yes, they are. So Algonquin's level of excellence, no matter what ranking you look at, we are exceeding it. Something to realize too, because we don't force our children to take 4 years of art, even though they normally do, our ranking drops. Because we didn't necessarily accept some students, for example, there was a hurricane in Puerto Rico, the students were placed based on federal funding in different communities and different school districts, our rankings were changed. So if you have a question about ranking and where Algonquin stands in ranking, I'm here to answer that question. In comparison to some of the private and parochial schools, we are highly, highly competitive. We track our children and how they do in college and beyond. And that is where you see the successes of Algonquin students. You heard some of our juniors, seniors talk tonight. We have more juniors and seniors out at the tables. Ask them questions. You will hear them say, I was writing lab reports my sophomore year. Some of our children who go to college have never written a lab report. At Algonquin, we've already aced that skill and we're on to the next skill. So if you have a question about rankings, please ask me. When comparing us to parochial and private schools, I can offer a little bit of knowledge, but they do a completely different system of testing. But I can tell you, when compared to how globally competitive we are excellence. So that is my spiel on ranking, because I know that it can become kind of a hot topic, and I just wanted to make sure that I covered it. I appreciate you coming here tonight. It's an honor and a privilege to be here in front of you. And if you have any questions, please stop me and ask them. Thank you.